I'm here to talk to you today about what makes a story a good story. Not just any story, but a good story. Now, in past classes or past years, you may have heard this about the story mountain. The thing is, the story mountain is important to learn, but it's not what makes the story good. It's about the structure of your story. It's about the events that happen in order. The story mountain in itself is not what makes the story good. What makes the story good is something that is built into our brains. Because humans have been on Earth for at least 100,000 years. Right? In our relatively current form, humans have been on Earth for at least 100,000 years, but written language is only about 5,000 years old. Our first evidence of written language only goes back about 5,000 years, which means humans have been on Earth for many, many times longer and been telling stories for many, many times longer than we have had the ability to write them down. So what that means is, for most of the time humans have been on Earth, the way we have learned everything that's important to learn is through telling stories. And because of that, our brains evolved to recognize good stories and to want to hear and to want to tell good stories. But because stories were meant for learning things, teaching lessons is one of the elements of a good story. So I call this the Campfire Theory. Almost any story, and by story, I'm talking about movies, TV shows, books, plays, video games that have a storyline of some sort, right? Any time you're telling a story, what makes it good is when you wind up learning an important lesson about being a human through your story. They are about basic human emotions that are so simple. So imagine, take a story like Harry Potter. Imagine, instead of reading Harry Potter or watching Harry Potter, you have a bunch of people sitting around a campfire telling the story Harry Potter. Why? Why would they be telling the story? What makes it worth telling the story? Most good stories are about change. Somebody in the story changes. However, that change is an unwanted change. Something happens to them. Something happens to them that this character did not want or ask for that forces them to change. There's a lesson that has to be learned, and they are forced to learn this lesson through events of the story that happen to them. So Woody has to learn how to be more inclusive and share the space with all the friends. He is forced to learn this lesson because Buzz comes into his life. In Cars, Lightning McQueen is forced to learn how to become a nice person and a good friend and not totally absorbed with himself. He is forced to learn that because he gets stuck in Radiator Springs. In Star Wars, Luke is forced to learn how to become brave and fight for good, but to see the good in people. He's forced to do that because he has to leave his home when his aunt and uncle are killed. And in Finding Nemo, Nemo's dad, Marlin, is forced to learn how to overcome his fears and be brave, but also not be so controlling over Nemo. He's forced to learn all of that because Nemo gets kidnapped. Okay, these are all changes that were forced upon your main character. Your main character wasn't set out wanting to change. Something happened to them that forced them to change. And what did they have to learn? Well, that's one of your basic human emotions. That's one of your basic human things that humans have to learn, because humans used to only be able to learn these things through telling stories. So, your assignment now is going to be take a story that you like, but imagine that it's being told around a campfire. Why are we telling this around the campfire? What are we teaching? What are the important lessons that you want to pass on to your children through this? Basic human emotions like love, independence, bravery, growing up, friendship, the dangers of the unknown, the wisdom of experience. These are all basic human emotions that are told through storytelling. So you now get to pick a story of your own, a video game, a movie, TV show, a book, anything, a story that you love, but figure out what is this story teaching.